Hello and greetings to all of our change makers. I'm so excited. I think today may be my first opportunity to interview somebody in South Africa. We've been all over the world, but this is a new opportunity. And we have an amazing change maker for you to meet. So please welcome our friend Hayley Moore. Hayley, please tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do and what makes you so amazing.
Hi, thank you for that wonderful welcome. I'm Hayley Moore, and I'm a family constellation facilitator in South Africa. And that kind of work is um, kind of experiential healing, I guess you would call it. And a little hard to explain, but you've experienced it yourself, and I'm sure we'll be able to explain it a bit better. Thank you for having me today. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. It's a true joy to have you here. And absolutely, I think people who've not heard of the process of family constellation, I am a believer in it. It absolutely has helped in terms of improving relationships, opening new doors in relationships within my family. So how would you
Mhm.
describe it to somebody who's never had the opportunity to experience what you do?
Well, I work differently when I'm working in groups and one on one. So, with a one on one, it's generally a guided visualization. But in groups, it's the traditional form of family constellation where people will participate and they will represent parts of your story. And basically, what it is that we're going into the quantum field and we're looking at your ties to your family of origin and how identities, beliefs, patterns, behaviors, how they can flow in families and often repeat again and again and again. And it often can inhibit us in forward movement if we're not aware of what those patterns are or how they're influencing our relationships or our careers or our own family lives with our children.
Mm.
And when we go and we look at this work, it's quite easy to spot because we're not working from a logical perspective. We're working in the field of feeling and emotion, but we're working also in the subconscious. So it's stuff that you may not really fully be aware of. But often with a constellation, you become aware of things you might have subtly been aware of. So then it feels like confirmation often. All I'm really doing is being a tour guide operator and showing you what you might want to look at over here and what you might want to look at over there and assisting you with the process.
That's amazing. I like that, a tour guide. Well, because, for so many of us, I mean, our subconscious records every memory since probably before birth, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of times there's things there that we had forgotten about. I know that's one of the blessings that I've received from you is helping me to remember something from the past and being able to connect it to some of the things going on now. So
Yeah.
that's a powerful thing because then you have an opportunity to work on healing the emotion attached to that, right?
Yeah, and also just sort of taking being able to distance yourself a little bit. So you're able to kind of view it and go, okay, now this is what this is about. Okay. So when you're feeling it and you're in it, it's very hard to make sense of. But when you're kind of going through this process, you can actually almost view it and you're like, now I understand why this had such an impact and why this belief or why this um, occurrence had such a big impact on my life. And then it's the same with things that come from the previous generations and you understand what might have influenced your mother or your father or their parents. And when you can understand those things, then things start to sort of have more of a logical sequence to them, and then we understand why we've chosen left or right, why we've gone this way or that way with what's happening, and then we can choose something else if that's what we wish. We say we heal it, but really what it is we can change the energy behind it, and we can release anything that's entangled, and free ourselves from anything that remains stuck, and choose something else if that's what we wish.
Wow. So it sounds like you actually can kind of like rewrite the story.
In a lot of ways, you are rewriting the story because we're working in the quantum, so we're working with multitudes of possibilities. There are possibilities that are at play all the time. So because you're working in the quantum, you're not really rewriting history. You can't really rewrite what's happened, but you can change the impact that it's had by kind of undoing the mental and emotional scarring, I guess.
Mm, I like that. I like that. And of course, most people, when they think about healing family relationships, they imagine, what happens with traditional therapists, right? You might actually try to put more than one person in a room with a therapist. But working with you, that physical presence of other people is not necessary, right? It's like if we're working on healing within ourselves, how does that impact the rest of the family?
Right. So we could do a session on you and your family today, and you could be working with maybe 4 or 5 members in that session. And they don't have to be physically present, but often they're feeling the shift, the energetic, because we are all connected. And that's basically the where this work originates from. Is to say that everyone in the family system is connected, and everyone in the family system belongs. So
Mm.
when one changes, there's a ripple effect, and it changes everybody else's perceptions. It can be subtle, or it can be really, really sudden, and you can really experience a change overnight sometimes. And people often say, well, how is this possible? But it really is because we're all connected. We're all connected. So if we just change the sort of, we just tweak this little thing, it might have a ripple effect on there and there and there and then around the circle.
Wow.
So it's when you're working on your own issues, you're not just working on your own issues. You're working on your issues, and everyone connected to that issue
Yeah.
benefits from what you're doing. Yeah.
I, I love it. I love it. And so many people could benefit from what you're doing, but they have no clue what's possible and how powerful it can be. So,
Yeah.
really curious. I mean, can you share with our viewers just a little bit about your backstory? What led you to doing this very powerful work?
Well, so my mom died when I was 6, and my dad remarried very shortly after. So we had a mixed family of 5 kids, and her kids were not really happy with the situation at all. So it was a very fractious and sort of toxic environment growing up with the 5 of us. And you've often heard of stories about people where they said they had a different childhood to their siblings, and it was certainly true in our case. All 5 of us had completely different stories. And I guess for me, it was looking for a connection to something that was solid, to a connection back to the family, because both sides of the families were estranged after my mother's death. And I needed somehow to find a middle ground and a place where I could work through all of this stuff. I did a lot of self help, and I did a lot of other people's processes over the years. But what I found was I would I would improve for maybe a month or two, and then I'd just be circling right back round to where I started, and it didn't
Mm,
feel like I'd done anything. And so when I did my very first constellation, I was blown away. I was absolutely blown away. It took me straight to the original trauma of my mother's death, and I just knew that there was huge power to this work because I hadn't even informed the facilitator what I wanted to work on. I went
mhm.
and I said, I don't really know. And it just went straight there. And so I was blown away. And the influence that it had on me, and just clearing layers and layers and layers of sorrow and grief and anger, almost instantaneously. And so when the training opportunity came up, and I went to many more after that, and when the training opportunity came up, I was like, "Yep, that's it. This is me for life. This is what I got to do."
I love it. I love it. And obviously, you're in South Africa. I'm in the States. So you do not have to be in person with somebody to do something, right?
Yeah. And you don't even have to be from the same culture, because I work with so many people from around the world, and it's just interesting because I've worked with people from Europe, I've worked with people from the Philippines, I've worked with people from Australia, New Zealand, America, different parts of Africa, and we all of our stories touch on each other's. We are so more connected than we know.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and I have to remember too, and I think when we did our session, I probably brought this up because in fact, this memory is what led me to another memory that helped to unlock a lot of stuff. But a lot of people might think I'm really strange, and my son would probably deny it to the hilt. But he was about 3 years old when one day he jumped up on my bed and looked at me and said, "Mom, do you remember when we had the conversation before I was born?"
Oh,
I
wow.
said, "About what?" And he said, "That you were going to be my mother."
Yeah. Isn't
I
that
mean,
beautiful?
there is an intention, I believe, that we come in with that, there's a reason for the relationships that we choose. And that's a hard one for a lot of people to swallow, but I do think it's real.
Yeah, for sure. And the systems that we're born into is no mistake either. So you get to pick your parents, but you're often traveling in soul groups that have picked a theme or
Mm.
several through a family system. And sometimes it can be very easy to spot, and sometimes it's not so easy. But uh, basically, you come in as this group of people and you go, right, guys, what are we working on? And you pick your themes and you go, right, okay, we'll start with generation one and we'll see how far we get. And off you go. But the themes are all still there. And so as we each embody them and we each travel our journeys with them, it's up to us to figure out where we fit in the scheme of things, and to leave a legacy that is healthier than the one we're born into, and to leave it healthier for those who come after us.
Wow. And that's such a beautiful idea because, I do some work with folks too, and boy, I find people who seem to have what a lot of people would term, like generational curses, where there's just some kind of trauma energy that has been transferred through DNA through the whole ancestry line. And oh my goodness, if you don't find a way to interrupt that, then, how do we ever get to a place of having peace on earth? I don't know.
100%. But exactly. But what's interesting to note is that we run from that trauma often. We avoid it, or we say it's bad, or we judge it. But
Mhm,
actually, if we just allow that trauma the space it needs to
mhm.
inform us what it is trying to show us, or what it is trying to teach us in the family
Teach.
system, that is when
Yes.
we can change it. That is when we can transform it into something that is healing rather than hurting. And
Mm.
that is how, generally, if we can do that in each of our systems, and then we can do that in each of ourselves, that is how we're going to get world peace, because we have to figure it out on the inside so that it can be figured out on the outside.
Exactly. I love that for sure. Wow. Well, I'm curious. I don't think I've asked you this previously, but do you have any big visions for the future of what you'd like to be doing yourself as time goes on?
Well, yeah, really, I just love to interact with people from around the world. And I enjoy doing workshops in person, and I enjoy working with people globally. But really, yeah, if I had to name my dream, it would be traveling all over the world doing this work.
Wow. Okay. That's a big one. Well, and
Yeah.
I know that you right now are sitting on a possibility for some of that. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about the in-person event that you have scheduled, and let's see if we can find any people who might want to come.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Obviously, I'm a little bit unsure because of the state of things at the moment with travel, but I have
Mm.
an event that I've planned at the Delphi University of Spiritual Studies in Atlanta, and we're planning on doing that from it's the second weekend in May. I think it's the 7th to the 10th of May that we've planned this. And what we do there is we do the family constellation in person. So we do it with groups. And then just like you, where we did the one-on-one, we have people standing in as all of those people in your family. So you'll have somebody representing your mother, somebody representing your father, your sister, your brother, whoever. And what happens is they tap into that energy just like I do when I'm walking you through a session with a visualization. And they give feedback. But then you get to interact with a real person in front of you. And they're not play acting, they're actually tapping into that unconscious that it connects us all. And they're just giving feedback. And what happens then also is that when somebody's walked in your story, you will do the same for them in their constellation. And
Mm.
and so you're walking in the shoes of each other. You're sharing and you're understanding how connected we really are. And the
Mm.
beauty of retreat is that you're in this beautiful place. Like I believe the energy at Delphi is phenomenal,
It
and you're in this amazing space where you can transform and heal and integrate, and then you've got the support of the group that sustains you through the whole weekend's processes, and so it's really just magical. um and so that's happening in May. I'm doing another one in South Africa just before that in April, and so that one's going ahead in the mountains here in the Drakensberg Mountains, and then I'll be doing the one in the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Awesome. Yes. And I've visited Delphi University and it is a beautiful place. And yes, totally amazing energy. So anybody that would go there would definitely experience some probably very incredible healing as a result of both your process and the environment. So
Yeah,
very,
the
very
environmental space contributes so much to the process. So that's why I'm really excited.
awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I hope and pray that all your travel issues just kind of melt away and you're able
Yes,
to
me
go and
too.
do that.
Yes, me too.
Good deal. Well, and I do encourage you to, when this video gets posted, it'll be in my Facebook group, it'll be on YouTube. Encourage you to find both of those places and put in links where people can find information on the programs you're doing, whether it's South Africa, the US, doesn't matter. And then what if somebody wanted to just be able to reach you and do an individual session? What's the best way for them to find you to do that?
Yeah, the best way is through my website because my booking calendar is all there, and they can just go and see, and then just check your time zone on the left so that you can check how it correlates. Because in South Africa, we're 6 or 7 hours ahead of you. So I think when your new dates come in, when does the changeover happen with your time?
Oh, we already changed last
Oh,
week.
yeah. So yeah, so sometimes we're 6, sometimes we're 7 ahead of you, and so it's a good idea just to check where you're at, and yeah, you can do all the booking info is on my website, which I'll give you the
Awesome.
link for.
Okay, sounds like a plan. So, as we wrap up this lovely little session here today, do you have any final words of wisdom you'd like to share with people?
I think the thing I can share right now is that everything is pretty chaotic and everything is pretty looking pretty messy out there. Doesn't matter what country you're in. There's a lot of chaos in the world, and I think that it's very easy to get caught up. It's very easy to get, you know, tied into doom scrolling and looking at your phone and just getting, headline after headline of how awful things are. But really, what we need to be doing is getting back into our bodies and letting our innate intuition speak to us about what's good for us, and maybe doing things that are in real life and taking good care of ourselves, and you know spending time with our loved ones and spending time doing things that bring us joy. I think joy is highly underrated currency in today's times, and the more
Mm,
you can do to bring joy to yourself and to others, and just make a spark of bright light in the communities that you're in. That's why your program appeals to me so much, because that's what it is. It's lighting a little spark and connecting it to other communities, and connecting it to the broader community of the world. And I think it's important right now to really focus on what you're wanting to create, because as the old systems sort of fall away, it's important to focus on where you're going, not where you've been.
yes, absolutely. I was just having a conversation with a friend the other day, and she kept saying, "Well, I keep feeling like I'm supposed to be helping to change the world." I said, "Forget about changing the world, but what can you do to help create the new one?"
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's as simple as in your own home, or in your environment, or in your neighborhood. It doesn't, you don't, not everybody needs to do a grand gesture or a grand crusade. It's just simple acts of kindness, simple acts of love.
Yes, yes. That is a beautiful place to start. So it has been a joy to have you with us today, Haley, and I'm glad that we'll have an opportunity to see how we can do some things together through We Care partnerships. And I encourage everybody else out here in this Facebook group for Unity for Wellness and Peace. Listen in, get to know what Haley does, and if you feel inspired that there may be a way to collaborate, please think about that, because my humble opinion is I believe the powers that be on this planet are begging us to come together and to find ways to collaborate. It is not as effective for us to all be sitting in our own little silos. We got to come
100%.
together if we want to create a better world. So thank you,
100%.
thank you. We appreciate you. We appreciate you being here. And thanks to all of our change makers for taking the time to watch this. And we will look forward to seeing you all again in the next interview. Until then, have a fabulous day. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you for